conversations are easy,
Yeah.
but essentially what I'll do is I'll just kind of walk you through each one, and there's some additional information I can tell you about each project, because people may be watching this at home,
Yeah.
and I'll try to do that. Do you guys need to have it up on the screen? Would it help for you to see the pictures? Do you understand the properties that we're talking about?
I think we do.
Okay, yeah. So Keith, you just let me know when you're ready. Okay. So I think we're up, Mike, if you want to call us back to order.
All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. First thing we have on the docket for annexation petitions at 5:30 are the Piper Third Road property. Mr. Wagner, do you have some information on that?
Yeah, so this is an opportunity for public comment on the annexation of the Piper property. Now, the funny thing was, you know, we had this petition originally signed a while back before we moved forward with it, and it has since been subdivided. So it went from 2 parcels down, or up to 6 now. But essentially, this would be the annexation of everything. There's property that kind of goes around the Dietrichs there on Bowen Avenue, all the way down to just a few hundred feet from Third Road. Not all the way down to Third Road, that's a different property owner, but it does include up to the full woods there. So essentially, the requirements for annexation are really easy on this. It just has to be contiguous for 1/8 of its border. We're well over that amount. In terms of uses of the property, we went over this at the Plan Commission meeting when it was subdivided, but essentially there's kind of an L-shaped parcel that is a few acres. Actually, I can see if I can get that. Now it's not giving me accurate readings on it because it's too new in the GIS. But essentially, that parcel is set to be transferred, acquired by the RDC. There is no plan for that right now. It is not going to be housing. I heard today it may be something that we allow to be used as overflow parking for school events. I'm not sure it would be improved in any way. It may just be, you know, flat bare ground that people can park on for football games and things. But that's still, I think, in discussion. There's another parcel that is actually where the improved Stock Street will go. That it looks exactly like a street. It is a little bit wider than normal because it does have the trail included on the north side. And it does have a stub going up to, I think that's Maryland. What? Poplar?
Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore, I'm sorry, yeah. So I thought you guys were saying Poplar, and I was like, yeah, I think Poplar's going the other way, but, that is all planned. I don't think that all of Stock Street will go all the way through over to, I think it's Marshall. That is still, I think, in some of the discussion, but that is supposed to happen. The parcel that it creates in the northeast corner is not going to be developed either. Still going to be agricultural use. That is apparent because if it was going to be developed, you would have subdivided it into smaller parcels now. That was the one at the Plan Commission meeting that most people had questions about, is most of the neighbors on Poplar. There are no plans for anything there anytime soon. Then the 2 remaining parcels are split off of the larger one. One of them is supposed to be John and Laura Pfeiffer's new home. Not sure what the construction timetable for that is. They were working on that, but I'm not sure the weather is going to let them do some of the preliminary work they were trying to get done this year. At best, you might have a house there next year. I'm not sure what John's schedule is for that. The rest of it is going to be unchanged, and Laura's parcel that she owns individually down at the bottom is gonna be unchanged as well. So, one of the questions that always comes up in annexations is, are we changing the zoning designation in the zoning ordinance? So in this case, that is primarily what these public hearings are about. And in this case, everything is going to actually stay zoned as ag. There's a couple-fold reason for that. John's property can stay as ag where he intends to build a residence because ag allows you to construct one residence on it. The annexation ordinance, it used to be based on the zoning designation, and then it got kind of a subtle change to the assessed use is how municipal taxes trigger. So for development purposes, usually what you do is you annex property, you leave it as ag until it gets used differently, and then your municipal taxes kick in. So in this case, it makes the most sense for John to just leave it as ag in that use, and then if he decides he wants to build something, he'll be able to do that in the future. And that's really just up to him. As far as utilities and things like that, right now water and sewer are planned to be run, well, actually, I don't know. Water, I know, is definitely coming down for a road in the current plan to get the right size line over to the third road property. That's going to be one of the subsequent hearings here tonight. But basically, all the utilities are essentially right there because the Dietrichs have them, even though they are not in the town limits. My understanding from Jeff was back in the day, they gave the contractor permission to park equipment on their property, and that was in exchange for basically having the utilities there. So they're already on, just a slight extension down to John, and like I said, most of that's coming down that way anyway. So there has been some talk of potentially running, I think it was wastewater down the rear side of the parcels on Fur Road. I haven't been a part of those conversations, but I think it was more just kind of opportunity, which is kind of good for those property owners just in the long term. It's not going to disrupt their backyards or anything, but they would have easy access if their septic failed, would need to get onto town wastewater, they could do that. Then you'll have water coming down on the east side of Fur Road on John's property, and that would, again, easy access to water if they needed it. So without too much disruption, I believe the plan that they have is going to make it so that there's the least amount of disruption to Fur Road and traffic as possible. So Keith, I think, has been in those meetings and can tell me if
exactly what you said.
Okay,
exactly.
All right, so I am remembering things correctly. So for this one, at the next meeting, we'd ask you just to approve the ordinance. I do feel like I probably should have said this at the beginning, I'm sorry. Mr. Pfeiffer and Mrs. Pfeiffer are longtime clients, friends of our family. So I just want to state that. I think you guys all know that because we've been dealing with this for some time. But I do think it's important to get it on the record. So essentially, that is the plan for that property. It got carved up because some parcels are changing hands. We're designating where the street and the trail will go, and then John wants a smaller piece just to put a house on without developing the rest of it. So.
No plans for Fur Road for acquiring that from the county yet at this point?
No. We could discuss that. I'm not really sure who should have it at this point because we're coming down the one side, but we go down to a certain point already with homes that are in, I think about as far as the bus garage. Keith and I had a question a couple months ago, probably a good 6 months ago, about chickens.
Yeah.
And there was a rooster that lived just literally on the house outside the town limits. And, well, we can't do anything. So I have heard rumors that there's at least one property owner that actually would like town utilities and may want to be annexed. We'll be able to annex, who wants to come in. This The council's never taken the position of wanting to force people to come in, and state law is actually kind of catching up with that mentality, I feel like. But I don't think it's an unfair requirement to say, hey, if you want the utilities, you just need to come in at that point.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, one person or a couple people needing the utilities doesn't force all their neighbors to come in if they don't want to.
Would it be a help to have the roadway in that case to try to get them in, or?
I don't think it makes a difference.
Okay.
To me, the issue is proximity of, are the utilities already running past there? And you know, if I had just put in my septic system or a new well,
Yeah.
I would be firmly in the probably, no, I don't want to come in territory. But somebody whose system is failing, this is probably going to be a real blessing to them.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, the thing I would say to those residents if they were here was, annexing your properties is not the intent of this at all. It's John and Laura wanted utilities at their property. And it makes sense for us to bring that into town with the trail, and just for prospective development. You know, I'm not sure what goes in there in the distant future. It may be quite some time, but it doesn't hurt to have this baseline established. It's a few less hoops we have to jump through whenever that time comes. So, yeah. Okay. So, nobody else here. We can basically move on to the next one now. I'm waiting for it to roll over to 5:45. So, and I guess we should probably have Mr. Lehman gavel us in. This would be on the Graber commercial properties.
Did you want me to close the 5:30?
Yeah, why don't we just say that we're closing the public meeting on the Piper petition and moving on to the Graber.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the Piper annex petition. And for actually 7 seconds, we'll open up the 5:45. Graber commercial property. We're going to open up annexation petitions for Graber commercial property at 5:45 here.
So this one has been a little bit of a moving target for a couple different reasons. The plan right now is to annex all 5 of those parcels, but I will tell you, I have had conversations with Mr. Graber about whether all 5 of them need to come in right
Can
now.
you explain to me which ones those are? Because I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is Destiny Drive, which is just before you get to the junction of 6 on the east end of town. And so, just north of the railroad, they already have one parcel that has Graber commercial properties, and then a second parcel that's actually owned by Mr. Graber and his wife individually. Those already have Digger Specialties businesses operating on them, okay? So this is essentially 5 parcels. I believe it was the Irving Brown family farm that they all extend to the east, all between the railroad. Now it goes over to the annexation target area, runs all the way to the east over to Jeremy Unsicker's property. I think Digger has bought that too, he has. And so Mr. Unsicker actually, I don't know, I think he bought the house too. So essentially, because of that contiguity requirement that 1/8 of the border has to be touching the town boundary, we couldn't annex it, all of it at once. We potentially, at one point years ago, had talked about annexing all the way out to Dogwood Road at one point. I don't know how feasible that is. Ownerships have changed on the industrial properties on Dogwood, so some of that may, I don't know if that'll be appealing to them or not. But in this case, again, you've got one parcel out of a group where only one is going to see any kind of development, and everything else is pretty much going to stay the same. So you have these five kind of oddly shaped parcels. There is a thin band of wetlands along the railroad that Digger has told me will never be anything other than wetlands because it needs to stay wetlands. So there's some woods wetlands there. Otherwise, it's bare farm ground, and then one house in that little group of, I think it's 3 homes there that you get into off of a service road off of 6. So Digger's plan is to build a new building for Digger Specialties, I believe, that is on the western edge of that westernmost property. And then he was gonna actually connect it to the existing building by, somebody said tunnels, I thought it was more like breezeways. But essentially one of the issues that we're having is acquiring that electric territory. Those conversations are still ongoing. Years ago, whenever a municipality with a municipal electric utility acquired new property, it was basically a requirement that we could buy that territory out. We always had to pay for it, but that way everybody who lived in the town had the municipal electric utility for their electric service, and that statute went away, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, early on in my tenure, from what I recall. So now it's purely optional. We have got a functional relationship with NIPSCO though, and they're at least considering it, so there's still information kind of going back and forth. There may be some things that we could do by combining parcels that would help that argument. We'll just have to see how it goes. But Mr. Graver has been emphatic that he wants our electric service, and he's really counting on it. And so we're doing everything we can to do that, but the shape of what comes in is going to be affected by what's in the territory. So Digger had talked to me recently about leaving the house out, so this petition may actually be amended and the ordinance may be changed before the next meeting, just so you're aware. But that would be the rationale behind it. And again, he and I had that conversation about if it's ag property and it's just going to be farmed, the taxes won't change on it because your usage, which determines what the assessment is actually not going to be any different. Now, in the draft ordinance that we have in front of you right now, I believe we talked about changing everything to a light industrial zoning. That's again what this public hearing is for. In the most recent update to the zoning ordinance, based on my conversation with Digger, I don't think he wants the light industrial zoning right now. I think he wants to leave it as ag, and he'll change the zoning when he has another use. Ordinarily, I would actually recommend somebody just go ahead and make it all light industrial right now. But the unique thing about this property, if anybody showed up with any concerns, the argument is you've got light industrial here, you've got a little few homes here, but otherwise light industrial over here on the county zoning designation. You've got 6 and light industrial on the north. You've got the doggone railroad on the bottom. There's not a whole lot to argue with this change. I haven't heard of any complaints. Keith, I don't know if you've received any comments from anybody out in that neighborhood about this.
From Diggers?
From anybody on Digger's project?
No.
Yeah. So, and from what I was told was Digger's never had a problem with complaints from anybody in that area. That would be on 331 as it runs east-west there before it takes the jog to the south. Their issue is more with the railroad. That's what they have a complaint about, is the volume of trains and the traffic.
One question. With no de-acceleration zone, are they putting their own roadway on their property to feed that, or?
There's
no de-acceleration on State Road 6, so how are they gonna get traffic into?
I believe it's coming through Destiny Drive, and they're not changing anything with 6 right now.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is, NDOT's doing those buggy lanes right now through there, and I don't know what conversations Digger has had. He did tell me he had some productive conversation about being able to improve the access route, but I'm assuming whatever they're doing is getting considered in that project. But for Digger's purposes, because his building's going to effectively be adjoining the existing
Yeah.
one, I don't think he wants access from 6. And so from an annexation perspective, the question is always what improvements need to be made, utilities and things like that. There's really not gonna be anything because they're already right up to the edge of that property anyway, and you're just moving them a few hundred feet. So right now, as I understand it, we're not taking over any roads, doing anything different. I think you're just gonna see a slight expansion of Destiny Drive
Okay.
over to the new property, and probably not even all the way across it, just to where the new building is gonna be, and that's literally where it'll
And that would be
stop.
private side development, not Destiny Drive development, right?
That I'm not aware of, but
There's not
it,
enough space to put a roadway between the state property and the substation, so it'd have to be private side.
okay, okay. So the interesting thing there is that might have been part of what Digger's discussion was. But in
Okay.
terms of access, there's no access issues, there's no utility issues, nothing's really gonna get extended that far.
Okay.
And these aren't, my understanding of the business is it's not water intensive, no big wastewater issues. It really is purely a matter of, he wants our electric utility, which is the one that has territories, unfortunately,
Yeah.
you know? So, you know, what I can do is I can get with him and probably get you a clarification on that before we actually have you consider the actual ordinance at the next meeting. But it really, this
I'm
one
just
is.
curious more than anything.
No, I understand, yeah, yeah, and I'm sure he can tell you that, but there's wrinkles on this one between, he had some, the wetlands issue initially, I know JPR worked on it with him for the longest time, and then having NDOT is a real X factor. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, but I think he's got somehow established a good rapport with them, and the timing may help with the expansion of 6. Now, to be honest, the 6 project, I'm curious about what's going on with Dogwood Road. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about that, but, you know, there's an example. It probably wouldn't hurt for us to reach out and try to understand what exactly they're doing. I know they're acquiring property from people along 6 there, but I haven't heard to what extent, so, yeah. So that's pretty much what's going on with that parcel, or that petition. Whether or not all of it stays on there, or if he withdraws some of those properties, I'll let you know before the hearing, and you'll see an amended petition if he does do it. But I would imagine that the electric territory acquisition will be what guides it. If it means we get the whole thing in, because it's being annexed, then I bet he would say, just annex it then if we get the entire thing. So, but again, kind of a common question I would expect. Are there any plans for anything else there? No, not right now, from what he's told us.
The early talks with Digger is that he had worked with the state and had the agreement for access off of 6 to that site. You've dealt with him since then. His plans may have changed, but that was, early on, that was it. He got a permission to have an access point right into that new space so they wouldn't have to go down Destiny Drive, and because you have the substation and
right
it's
there. Yeah.
it'd be a huge mess.
And I think that though was because there was potentially going to be more development on the east end of the property at that point, and so it made sense to actually pursue that. And my understanding is it is literally just that west parcel that's on our east border that's going to actually see change. And they've started moving some earth. They asked for permission could they start, you know, kind of thinking with that, and we told them, you know, well, this hasn't been approved yet, but you know, realistically, it's not objectionable. I try to be careful when you're taking property out of ag or some other designation and moving into light industrial, but this is a pretty easy one to approve, just in that sense that it's already right next to other similar uses. It's surrounded by other similar uses.
So when we annex this, say we do annex this, then we'll proceed with TIF expansion?
We need to talk about that. The RDC, I don't think has talked about that just because we've had so many other things going on.
Yeah.
But that has crossed my mind that yes, once it's annexed, we could start with that and begin that process now.
Okay.
So I have no idea how big the facility is. I have no idea how many jobs it's adding. I really don't have that.
So it is a
information.
warehouse with a covered area for the trucks. Digger said he just wants to be able to load and unload trucks out of the weather. It's not gonna be a huge job maker, just a big warehouse with a loading dock that's
So
covered.
at what point, I mean, does it go into TIF before it does any development on that site, right?
I believe it has to be included in the TIF before the assessment changes.
Okay.
And the assessment, they're, frankly, right now with the weather being what it is, I imagine this is kind of the end of what they're doing. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see the structure up this year, it'll be next year. And so if we start the process now, we still should have plenty of time.
Okay.
Like, I honestly think if we were gonna do it, it would need to be done by the end of '26.
Okay.
So we could do it way before then.
Okay.
So,
So you're gonna start looking at that?
Yep, yep, no, it was on a list to be discussed actually at the meeting, potentially this Wednesday, if we have it. So,
Perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
All right,
Yeah.
close that. Meeting open up next one in about 3 minutes.
I've got 1 minute on my phone.
Yep, 1 minute now.
Yeah, so.
Power outage.
That's what Austin thought as
Well,
well.
was
is that-
this yesterday?
That's his understanding.
Right now,
is
or?
that
I just got a text
access
7
Okay.
minutes ago.
off- We all
Oh,
went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
you got it.
didn't get that earlier. I
I
knew
can't
that.
pull up because now
Oh,
the
the drive that's
I
there
can't think of
now.
it.
Like the residential drive or the actual housing development drive? Because there was a driveway for the house that was there.
Not
Yeah,
sure.
they had some yesterday, they were out.
Yeah.
I don't know, Austin's been out since 3 this morning.
That's pretty good.
So, he was,
Truck traffic
A
has
long
more
day.
yeah, long day,
Yeah.
loading and
yeah.
unloading is taking place.
Electric had a
Yeah.
few
They are
different things
two
yesterday.
tunnels.
I'll bet.
Yep.
You know, drive forklifts.
Oh, yeah.
From one to
Had
the
it
other.
snowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and open up this meeting for the annexation petition for RDC Third Road property.
Yep. So, this is the former Jim and Marilyn Brown farm, the subject of, or the main piece, I should say, of the Ready project that we've been working on for a couple years now. So, this property is one where the contiguity issues, no problem there, it's directly connected. The biggest issue is kind of how do you approach access, utilities, you know, all of that, just from where it is. So for this one, those conversations are actually still ongoing with essentially a developer that the redevelopment commission is having kind of a subcommittee work on that. So we are not actually asking for any change to the zoning on this yet. Once developers identified and you actually have an actual plan, you will see an application for some zoning some zoning change go through the plan commission. There may be some differently shaped parcels, some things like that, that would be part of that development. It does call for the trail to go through there on the north end of the property. In terms of the utility access, I believe, like I said, the best route to get water in sufficient quality or quantity is from the east, coming through an access that's actually on Third Road that was platted when that neighborhood down that strip of Fur Road homes was platted. I believe the southwest corner is going to get a lift station. But again, people that were a part of that conversation, that's what I've heard.
That's the conversation.
Still, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, still discussion on, you're gonna have a street coming over, from Fur Road, about 2/3 of the way down, right about where the town boundary is gonna be with, the Piper property. Stewart Street, I think, is also gonna come down. Berkey is kind of a push. There's been discussion on whether it gets extended or not. The problem with that is you'll only see development on one half of it. And so usually that doesn't really make it cost effective because the other half of it, the welding property, those woods, isn't, nothing's gonna happen on that for a while, if ever. So at this point, I think you can count on the access horizontally from the east side. I think Stewart Street comes down and connects to some extent, but in terms of everything else, it's all undetermined at this point what it'll actually look like, and it has more to do with what the developer intends to do on the ground. But that will come in front of the Plan Commission. There'll be more hearings on that when that happens, so it's not something you're being asked to consider in this ordinance.
I have no comment on this one. Sorry.
So, yeah, I feel like I should say this is across the street from my house. So, just in the interest of full disclosure, I have another relative who lives on the north side of it. In terms of the annexation, again, that's all you're being asked to prove. I don't know that this is that controversial for what it is. So, there's not anybody here. Maybe Keith, did you get any feedback on this one from the public who couldn't attend tonight?
All kinds of feedback, but nothing, there's no negative, just what's going on, just the common questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see Berkey Street go through. I mean, because if you're in that neighborhood, and you're on that side of that property, that development, you want to run to, McDonald's or something like that, you kind of don't, you have to kind of either backtrack around or something.
I'll tell you though, I've heard from at least one resident on Berkey Street that they'd be worried that a straight road would be, like all the way down to Third, would be, attractive for speakers.
Wouldn't be any different than Grad Street though.
I understand, yeah.
Or Stewart going straight
Stewart
through.
Street.
We
would have to
heard
be
the same thing
reconstructed.
back then.
Well, but I've seen some proposed designs that have a street that connects to Berkey, but it doesn't go all the way down to Third, and that I don't think would be the worst thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely on the table, but I think the folks that are working on it, and certainly on our end, with Christina Shearer and the engineers that we've had, plus Brian has also got a pretty good sense of this, Brian May. People are looking at those things, and there's some things they can do to slow the traffic down with design. So I think there's a possibility that there is an outlet on Berkey, but I guess what I meant was I'm not sure Berkey just goes in a straight line all the way down to Third. And some of that, again, is just that if you can only develop half the road, it doesn't really pay. So
You're gonna have to consider using Stewart Street and totally rebuilding that. As many blowouts as we've had on the asphalt out there for the clay popping through, it's gonna need a total reconstruction
Okay,
because there's not much base there to build on clay.
yeah.
So,
So some of that, I think, the opportunity you have with the developer for them to do some of this work according to our standards, but one thing that Keith and I have talked about is when we've put these projects out for bid, and you guys would understand this as well as anybody, it seems like when the municipality bids these things, we get killed on it. And I'd rather see what the private market can do. And there's a mechanism for that in what's being discussed. But in terms of a concrete plan for what's going in there, all I can say is it's going to be housing. What does it actually look like? I can't tell you because nobody knows yet. It's not that we don't want to, but you know, it's gonna be a real shot in the arm, for housing in the town. But, it's unfortunately, it's just not quite pinned down yet. But I think you'll see that information develop before the end of the year and released to the public and starting to be discussed, so. Any questions on that one, though? Okay. So yeah, so the process, at the next meeting, I'll have you approve for each property a fiscal plan for each one, a resolution adopting the fiscal plan, I should say, and I think all those plans are updated now. Two of them were done by Baker Tilly. I did the Piper one, based on an old format from Dave Holmes, because there's literally nothing to it. I couldn't see it, spend the money on it. But you'll have a resolution and an ordinance for each one, and then we get those ordinances recorded and gets added to the town, and away we go. So, worth noting, if there is gonna be development on this third road property, it is almost a certainty that there will be some sort of residential TIF created for that. But that's a separate TIF from the existing one that we have. So. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
We got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so move.
Who wants to count as the second on that?
Not me.
I think everybody made the motion, so. So you're the second? Okay, all right, I'm gonna do Brian and then Bill.
All the things
As long
from.
as we get it.
That's all yours.